Imagine this. You're standing at the altar, hearts pounding like thunder in a summer storm, vowing eternal love to the person who makes your world spin. But fast forward 50 years, and that same couple is sitting on a weathered porch swing, hands intertwined like ancient vines, sharing secrets that could shatter or save 1,000 marriages. Secrets born from laughter echoing through sunlit kitchens, tears staining faded love letters hidden in attic trunks, and the raw, unfiltered battles that tested their bond against the relentless tides of time. This is the tale of Eleanor and Thomas, a pair whose love story defies the odds, weaving through the Great Depression's shadowy grip, the fiery chaos of World War II, and the dizzying whirl of modern life's digital distractions, offering you, the starry-eyed newlywed, 10 timeless tips wrapped in the suspense of their epic journey, where every whispered promise held the potential for paradise or peril, and where one fateful decision could tip the scales toward forever or farewell. It all began in the dusty streets of a small Midwestern town in 1932, where Eleanor, a spirited seamstress with eyes like polished emeralds and a laugh that could chase away storm clouds, first locked gazes with Thomas, a lanky farm boy whose calloused hands spoke of endless toil under the unforgiving sun. Their meeting sparked by a chance encounter at the annual harvest fair where a runaway carousel horse nearly trampled her delicate frame, only for him to swoop in like a knight from forgotten folklore, pulling her to safety with a strength that belied his gentle soul. Little did they know, this heroic act was the prelude to a lifetime of rescues, not from physical dangers, but from the invisible snares that entangle young hearts. Tip 1, they would later impart, is to communicate openly from the very start, for in those early days, as the Depression's iron fist squeezed the life from their dreams, Eleanor harbored a secret fear of poverty that gnawed at her like a hidden rat in the granary, while Thomas buried his anxieties about providing under layers of stoic silence, until one fateful evening by the flickering light of a kerosene lamp, a simple misunderstanding over a misplaced dollar bill erupted into their first quarrel, voices rising like the wind before a tornado, but instead of letting resentment fester like an untreated wound, they chose to sit knee to knee on the creaky wooden floor, pouring out their souls until dawn painted the sky pink, forging a pact to always voice their truths, no matter how raw or vulnerable, a habit that became the bedrock of their union, saving them from the silent drifts that doom so many couples to isolation. As the years unfolded like pages in a well-worn novel, their love blossomed amidst the scarcity, with Thomas trading his prized pocket watch for a bolt of fabric so Eleanor could sew her wedding dress, a gown of simple cotton that shimmered with the threads of sacrifice, and on their wedding night in a borrowed barn lit by fireflies trapped in jars, they danced barefoot to the hum of a distant fiddle, whispering dreams of a future farm teeming with children and crops. Yet suspense loomed as whispers of war echoed from across the Atlantic, testing their fledgling bond. Tip 2, keep the romance alive through small, intentional acts, for even in those lean times, Thomas would carve wildflowers from scraps of wood, leaving them on her pillow as tokens of his undying affection, while Eleanor penned poetry on the backs of ration cards, reciting verses that made his heart race faster than any engine, reminders that love isn't a grand gesture but a daily spark, kindled against the encroaching darkness, a flame they nurtured through letters during his deployment to the European front in 1942, where bullets whistled like angry hornets and the mud of Normandy clung to his boots like guilt, yet her words, scented with lavender from their garden, transported him back to her arms, sustaining him through the horror until he returned, scarred but whole, their reunion a blaze of passion that reignited their commitment. But war's shadow didn't fade easily. Thomas came home haunted by nightmares of fallen comrades, his once easy smile fractured like shattered glass, and Eleanor, now managing the farm alone with blistered hands and a swelling belly, felt the weight of unspoken traumas pulling them apart. Here emerges tip 3, manage finances together with transparency and unity, for in the post-war boom, as factories hummed and opportunities beckoned, they sat at their scarred oak table every Sunday, poring over ledgers by candlelight, dividing pennies with the precision of surgeons, dreaming not just of survival but of building an empire from the soil. Suspense built as a shady investor tempted Thomas with a quick rich scheme involving speculative stocks, promising riches that could ease their burdens, but Eleanor, sensing the peril in his glittering eyes, insisted on joint decisions, uncovering the fraud through whispered town gossip and averting disaster, their shared ledger becoming a symbol of trust, a fortress against the temptations that lure couples into debt's abyss, teaching them that money isn't just currency but the mortar binding their shared vision. As their family grew, with little Annie arriving in 1946 amid the jubilant peals of victory bells, followed by twins Jack and Rose 2 years later, the house filled with the chaotic symphony of cries and giggles, yet amid the joy lurked the suspense of exhaustion, where sleep became a luxury and tempers frayed like old ropes. Tip 4, respect each other's space and individuality, for Eleanor, craving moments of solitude to sketch landscapes in her hidden journal, would slip away to the old willow tree by the creek, while Thomas retreated to his workshop, hammering away at inventions like a wind-powered churn, understanding that love thrives not in constant fusion but in allowing breaths of freedom, a lesson tested when Annie's first fever struck like a bolt from the blue, pulling them into a vortex of worry, but by granting each other reprieves, Eleanor tending the child while Thomas fixed the leaking roof, they avoided the resentment that suffocates so many partnerships, emerging stronger, their spaces becoming sanctuaries that recharge their devotion. The 1950s brought prosperity's golden glow, with television sets flickering in living rooms and cars gleaming on driveways, but for Eleanor and Thomas, it also ushered in ambitions that could have driven wedges. Thomas dreamed of expanding the farm into a dairy empire, while Eleanor yearned to open a boutique showcasing her designs, dreams that clashed like thunderheads on the horizon. Tip 5. Support each other's dreams with unwavering encouragement, for instead of competing, they wove their aspirations together, Thomas building shelves for her fabrics in the barn, Eleanor crunching numbers to secure loans for his cows, their mutual backing turning potential rivals into allies, suspense heightening when a drought withered the fields in 1954, threatening ruin, but her boutique's success bridged the gap, her dresses selling like hotcakes at county fairs, proving that championing one another's goals isn't sacrifice but investment, yielding dividends of deeper intimacy and shared triumphs. Yet no marriage escapes conflict's storm. In the turbulent 1960s, as civil rights marches thundered and the Vietnam draft loomed over their sons, Eleanor and Thomas clashed over politics, her progressive fire clashing with his traditional roots, arguments escalating like wildfires in dry brush. Tip 6. Handle conflicts constructively with empathy and resolution, for they learn to pause mid-fury, breathing in the scent of baking bread to ground themselves, then circling back with, "I feel," statements that disarmed defenses, transforming battles into bridges, a skill honed when Jack's rebellious streak led to a family rift, suspense building as he stormed out one rainy night, but their united front, forged in calm dialogue, brought him home, mending wounds that could have scarred generations, reminding them that fights aren't ends but opportunities to understand the heart's hidden chambers. Through the decades, as bodies aged and desires evolved, the bedroom's sanctuary faced its own trials, with routines threatening to dull the spark that once ignited with a single touch. Tip 7. Maintain intimacy through creativity and openness, for Eleanor and Thomas, even in their silver years, experimented with moonlit picnics under star-strewn skies or sensual massages with homemade oils from garden herbs, sharing fantasies whispered in the dark, suspense arising when health scares like Thomas's heart murmur in 1975 cast shadows over their closeness, but by adapting, exploring non-physical bonds like shared baths and poetry readings, they kept the flame eternal, discovering that intimacy is a river, ever-flowing if navigated with care, deepening their connection beyond the physical to the soul's core. Traditions became their anchor as the world spun faster, from the psychedelic 1970s to the tech-savvy 1980s, where microwaves and computers invaded homes. Tip 8. Build traditions that create lasting memories, for they instituted annual family reunions around a bonfire, roasting marshmallows while recounting tales of yore, or the ritual of planting a tree for each grandchild's birth, symbols of growth amid change, suspense peaking during the 1987 stock crash that wiped out savings, testing their resolve, but these customs provided solace, knitting the family tighter, proving that rituals aren't mere habits but the threads stitching life's tapestry, offering comfort when chaos reigns. The 1990s brought the internet's dawn, connecting the globe yet isolating souls behind screens, and as their children scattered like leaves in the wind, Eleanor and Thomas felt the pull of empty nests. Tip 9. Stay connected with family and friends to enrich your marriage, for they hosted weekly potlucks with old neighbors, sharing stories that bridged generations, while nurturing bonds with in-laws through holiday cards and surprise visits, suspense unfolding when Rose's divorce in 1995 rocked the family boat, but by leaning on their network, offering support without judgment, they modeled resilience, understanding that a couple isn't an island but part of a vast archipelago, drawing strength from communal ties that bolster love's foundation. Finally, as the new millennium dawned with Y2K fears and 9/11's heartbreak, their golden anniversary approached like a summit after a lifelong climb, bodies frail but spirits unyielding. Tip 10. Never stop learning about each other, for even after decades, they quizzed one another on evolving dreams, reading books on psychology side by side, uncovering layers like archaeologists in ancient ruins, suspense culminating in Eleanor's secret battle with early dementia in 2005, where Thomas's patient rediscovery of her quirks, her love for jazz records, her fear of thunder, reignited forgotten sparks, proving that love is an endless exploration, a journey without maps, where curiosity keeps the adventure alive. And so, as they sit on that porch today, the sun dipping low like a final bow, Eleanor turns to Thomas with a twinkle in her Their story a testament to enduring love, whispering to you, the newlywed, that these tips aren't rules but lifelines, drawn from a saga of trials and triumphs, urging you to embrace the suspense, the history, the vivid tapestry of marriage, for in their words lies the power to craft your own epic, one where love doesn't just survive but thrives, eternally.